Hey, hey, hey.
Man, Rob.
Yo, what's going on?
Hey, what's going on, man? I can't believe I finally got to talk to you.
Well, here I am. What you gonna talk about?
Um, I'm from South Carolina. I'm from the upstate of South Carolina. I
Mhm.
don't know. I'm from a small town called Spartanburg, South Carolina. And I just want to know when you hear about South Carolina, we always talk about Charleston, because it's they have a real unique, rich history with all, with the slavery and everything. But I just wanted to know if you know anything about you know when that was going on back then, what was going on up in this area? If you know anything about Spartanburg Greenville area, this the upstate.
If you been, how long you been watching me?
For a few years now.
Okay, you probably heard me say that we was all hands on deck. A Big Mama car came from a Gullah Geechee Big Mama out of the Carolinas.
Yeah.
Okay, now first let's address why is Charleston the most known or talked about. Charleston is most talked about because it's a major city with a lot of rich history that's part of the narrative cover up. They only spotlight what's called certain areas. And we thinking that the only tribes of that area might be Gullah Geechee, but it was more tribes there. And then when we was called to go fight in the Gullah Wars, many of the chiefs stopped by to show homage to the Big Mamas in the Carolinas, all of them, because it was a confederacy of Big Mamas
Hmm.
that they just had to be telepathic because we had no telephones,
Yeah.
and everybody came. They came as far away as Hawaii, the Tongan and Samoan Islands, New Zealand, and Australia, sending soldiers to fight this invasion that we was up against. When she put the call, this is why we have such a diverse range of phenotypical features, right? We got the blood of everybody over here.
Hmm.
And so it's also the blood that corrects the rest of the blood of the planet is the tribes of the Americas. So when the interlopers come in, rape the society, in order to clean the blood up, they have to come back and tie into the vine. That's the term. Is if you look up the term tying into the vine, it's going to talk about unions of marriage in order to make one family tree, right?
Yeah.
So, and this is why the root blood. The Africa theory is an after the fact ideology. It's not an ancient philosophy. The
I was
out
gonna
of
ask you about
Africa
that.
theory is not even 200 years old. But
Yeah.
you got to look at the what's called the perspective, right? Remember, perspective means the person that's looking at it, how they see it. That's their perspective. When you look at it, you say, "What's their perspective?" And then you ask yourself, "What's my perspective?" This gonna help you see the rift in the information. Okay, now while they giving us how we supposed to look at it, but that's not how it's supposed to be seen. They can use that as a tool of conditioning to tell you how it's supposed to look, and then it's something entirely different, right? So this is why everybody saved America's for last to bring this global war to its final conclusion, what they call the closing of Armageddon, the final conflict, the final battle, right? It's supposed to be good against evil, trying to even the score where these demons be seeking the upper hand, snatching souls of black folks, women, and men, struggling in the world to raise these niggas and give them military minds and call them guerrillas, right? They don't want us to do that. So the only way you can control people is you always got to stay in control of the narrative that the people are receiving. This is the
Right.
only way that the erasing us is going to work. Now, the only way we can break that is we have to fall back on our natural born sovereign capacity to express our natural culture without being taught it. If you can rely on you gonna follow your culture, right? You're gonna follow the ways of your people. Whatever government here doesn't matter, and it's the only way that is gonna allow you to see the fraud on your own without nobody help, right? Because they telling us to look at it one way. The majority of us want to look at the way they told us to look at, because that's flock mentality, crowd mentality, herd mentality, pack mentality, tribal mentality. People might want me to be a Pan Africanist. I study Pan Africanism. I'm not a Pan Africanist. I'm growth and development. I'm the dean of Brain Bang University. I'm a soldier of Larry Hoover. I'm the son of Arthur Hayes and Augustine Hayes, right? I know who I am. I know my tribe. I know where we came from. I know our literature. Okay, now, when I go learn about other tribes and I learn their literature, that don't make me part of their tribe. It make me be able to understand how that tribe operate.
Right, right.
Right. So when a judicial system come into play, is to make all of the distinctive qualities of each tribe be erased and everybody follow the script that we finna give you. I ain't following a script. So we brain banging about it, putting it all in the public domain for the rest of the tribe, similarly situated, to have it in a time-stamped archivable format so that it's valid as a public notice, and notice the agent is notice the principal. I don't got to tell them. It's not my responsibility to tell them individually. It's my responsibility to make it publicly accessible for them to determine that their time is up and our time is now, and we ain't John Cena.
Yep.
Right? So now that it's in the public domain and all of the tribes have access to my unique perspective, each one of the tribe members can look at it from their perspective and take the part that they tribe need the most to help them the most. And the rest of it don't worry about you because it might be for another tribe. Right. So I come in, I teach them, I teach from Malachi's information, I teach from Elijah Muhammad information, Clarence 13X information, Yahweh Ben Yahweh information. I even teach from Lyle Phillips and Saraja Hodge, old loopy minded ass Negroes perspective, because I need to understand what they believe, what they think, and how they feel. I had to live through them schools in order to understand how it feels to be one of them, so I could see that it don't feel like our culture. I can't keep it. My culture is growth and development. Brain banging. Brain banging is our new doctrine. Part of brain banging is diplomacy. Learning how to associate with the other tribes on the land that you walk around with every day. If you don't have problem solving skills built into your educational system, we won't know how to our children won't know how to solve problems. So what did they do? They excised from the common curriculum two critical points: critical thinking and practical problem solving. Now that used to be hardwired in just to the way humans teach each other, but by using the educational system, you can fillet the critical thinking, practical problem solving off the bones you finna feed the kids. Now, if you go to what they call a upper class community and you look at their curriculum is still hardwired with critical thinking and practical problem solving. But not only that, a lot of them offer it as a separate part of the core curriculum that's not an elective, right? So it's not in the same category as gym. And when you get your credits for it, you get credits for studying sociology because it's all pack behavior.
Hmm. Yeah. Um, the other thing you just touched on a little while ago. So this whole thing about, because you know it's a big thing. It's people talking about it to this day all the time about the out of Africa theory.
Hmm.
who's African and who's indigenous to this land. I never really felt comfortable calling myself African American. I'm not gonna skip over my genealogy bloodline to say I'm African American. I don't. I mean, because for the longest they taught us in school that all humanity came from Africa, right? I don't know. I know you spoke on that before. Can you, bring some more clarity to that? Because I
Yeah.
just
Okay, so Hippocrates is the father of history. Wait a minute. Let me make sure I got my Greek philosophers right. Um, no, it's not him. I forget his name. But the father of history was a Greek philosopher, Herodotus. But the Kemetic people was writing history before Greece was even considered as a civilization, right? Everything that they learned from the Greek or Hellenistic worldview is what it's called. When you look that up, Hellenistic worldview reference point for what I'm saying is the perspective of Greece. Now, our public politics is the Republic of Plato, of Greek,
Mhm.
right? Our religious philosophies is coming from the writings of Plutarch and a couple of other Greek philosophers, but I'm really focused on the worldview because in order for them to know where they came from, they had to go back to Egypt, right? Now, if they have to go back to Egypt to find out where they came from, where did they come from? They from
Right.
out of Africa, right?
Yeah.
What that got to do with us over here?
I don't think nothing.
Right. Because when the out of Africa philosophy was being developed, they was blind to this part of the world. It didn't exist in the paradigm.
Hmm.
Therefore, they cannot say out of Africa before you even know America exists.
Right.
How you gonna say everybody came from Africa and you don't know America exists? So now, how do you, when you upon the discovery of the so-called Americas, right? How do you weave this into the out of Africa theory? Because they have to weave it into the out of Africa theory because it existed before the out of Africa theory, alone in a standalone reality, separate and unto itself, with its own history, doctrine, and peoples, separate from the out of Africa concept, separate from the Hellenistic worldview. Had nothing to do with that. So now when they encounter us, they need to incorporate us into the Hellenistic worldview. How do they do that? They have to figure out a way to tie us back to the out of Africa theory. We don't ascribe to the out of Africa theory. Ours is from out of the Mississippi Delta theory, Mississippi clay dirt walking theory. We don't
Yep.
come from a Nile Valley origin point. We was here before that because we set that shit up. We don't come from a Akkadian and a Sumerian and a Babylonian backstory because we was here before they set that shit up.
Hmm.
When they landed on Mount Hermon, right, we was already here. When they decided to rape the daughters of men, which was really the daughters of women, is how they were saying it. When they say the daughters of men, that's supposed to be derogatory in nature, equivalent to calling a girl a whore,
Hmm.
right? But when they say daughters of the mother, that's like calling somebody an angel walking on earth. But because of time and the different perspectives and worldviews and the change of how we use words, it was lost to antiquity that that was a derogatory term equivalent to calling a girl a whore,
Yeah.
right? If that means that she didn't have a mother, if you say this the daughters of men, that means that she didn't have a mother she was born in a brothel. But this is understanding the writings of the Sumerians and the Akkadians and their common culture being separate from the culture of the people of Egypt. So when they come with the out of Africa theory, they use the Bering Straits narrative in order to justify the presence of Mongolians and Huns
Mm-hmm.
that they
Yep.
brought over here with them because that's who they was fighting before they got kicked out of Europe. From there, the people they was fighting is where they got their spoils of war. The women and the children, the women was for concubines and the children was for the workforce. So them was parts of the spoils of war. They set them up in what's called peasant villages. The peasant village was subject to the chancellor of the region. But we don't know this much about European history because you got to be interested in some reading some weirdo ass shit when you really get down to it. After studying European history, it make a motherfucker not want to study history no more. It's just nasty.
Yeah. Yeah.
You read about their history, and then as soon as you close the book, you got to go take a damn shower because you just feel nasty. That's the
Dirty.
way it is, right? So when they did their out of Africa theory at its origin, they knew nothing about the Teotihuacan. They knew nothing about Titicaca. They knew nothing about the monkey village in the Amazon. They knew nothing about the Nazca lines when they came up with the out of Africa theory. None of that stuff was in the equation. This is why they stop at Egypt. Egypt was not even the oldest nor the premier culture of the continent. You had two cultures that dominated the continent as the highest royal families. In the north was some people that currently live, the remnant of them live in the Sudan called Dinka, Dinka. Those are the children of Inky. Big old big MFs. Look just like an old big ass Mississippian nigga. Then in the sub-Saharan region, what was called the Abzu was the royal uh, guard of Inky's Abzu. We call them today the Zulu, who was left as a protectorate tribe that's supposed to overlook the Khoisan and the Twa, who dwell in the region to keep the other tribes that's big like the Watusi from taking advantage of them. They was given the royal rights because the Twa and the Khoisan been in Africa so long that they can tell you the position of the sun before there ever was a moon and where they came from and how long they've been there. You won't believe them. So they won't tell you because they don't want you to call them a liar because in their culture, that's the highest form of disrespect to be one who bears false witness to the truth. Right? But we don't know other people's culture that's similar to ours, and we don't know how to use that lens to see our own culture. We've never stopped doing this shit. We always did.
Mm-hmm.
We never stopped doing it. We still gigging in the clubs. We used to call them the juke joint in the early days of the war. They was the juke joint, the hole in the wall. They had a whole lot of names for them. We still doing that shit. We call them house parties now, or what they call the BYOB gatherings at the hall.
Yeah. Yep.
We still doing the same shit. We all this fancy footwork dancing. Every region has its own version of that's tribal dance. All we gotta do is look at what we doing. We do everything. We gotta have them names. Gotta have power in them. We've been laughing at these sisters for naming their daughter's name like Shaniqua, and their son's names like Javante. Those names are tones,
Mm-hmm.
and they trying to go back to the linguistic value of tribal speaking, and that's why they started making up those names and borrowing them from Asian and African culture. And this is where when like for instance, when you hear Elijah call us Asiatic black men, the
Yeah.
reason that is we have a treaty. We had a verbal treaty tied to the names of the people of the South with the Lee clan. Over in Asia, it's spelled with the character that looks like L-I. It spells Lee, right? But in the English, it might be L-E-E, L-I-E, L-E-I. Um, it's a whole bunch of variants, but you got Henry Lee, Arthur Lee, Jacob Lee. Then you got girls' named like Verdi Lee, Bobby Lee. These the Lee tribe, right? This is the treaties with the Emperor Ho Chi Minh and his generals were who's using the military strategies of the one they call the Black General. But he was called that, but he was commanding niggas, right? But he was called it because not because of his skin color, but because of the garb he wore, which represented the clans of the stealth. This is where your ninjas learned to wear black from. Your samurais in nighttime put on the black. That came from that black general of China. So I'm gonna get a little loquacious over here, ain't I?
Yeah. I know that some more people want to come up. I ain't gonna hold you, but just one more thing. Like on my, they say like on my mom's side, um, her grandfather, my great grandfather, he was a Cherokee, full blooded Cherokee. But they always say my great grandmother, she was just black. I don't buy that because that's a classification. You got to be, unless you come from the continent of Africa, you got to be from some other kind of tribe. I don't think they really knew. She had, I think she was Indian too. She had to have something. She couldn't just been black. What is black? Where is black at on the map? You know what I mean?
So a
So,
lot of us was called black, because even people with the last name black is part of the stealth priests. All of them, right? Like the Black Panther clan, the Black Wolf clan, the Black Eagle clan, the Black Elk clan, right? We had those. Those are wartime chiefs. That's the chiefs of last resort that comes to the front in waves. So you got to go through all of the other waves of chiefs before you get to the ones who's operating in stealth in an unknown capacity. You don't even know he's the chief yet until you activate him. And you can't
mhm,
activate him unless the skill set that he's developed is required to be out in the front. And then he come out as the stealth priest, the black priest. That's where you got black. Your B-2 bomber is black. The stealth ship is black. Or all of
mhm,
that is tied back to that same black general introducing black as a way to fight what we call midnight warfare,
mhm,
right? Because the Mississippians used to wear wolf pelts. One tribe wore wolf pelts, one tribe wear bear pelt, one tribe wear cougar pelts. But the stealth priests, you hardly ever seen them, right? Because they don't come out until shit is bad, and they have to figure out how did we get to this point. When Columbus came, there was no high chiefs. There was only training chiefs on the land, and this is how they had got a head start in the wars to be able to even begin to overtake the land. So the chiefs that was over here might have been scout chiefs as a two feathered chief. That means he wear two feathers because he take information from one feather to the other feather, right? So all chiefs got a scout. The scout might be a local brave or soldier in the field in the area that have to physically lay eyes on you to determine who you are. They can do it telepathically with somebody in their clan. They all clans are bound to their common love for a certain chief. When chiefs make alliances, they bring families together, and it's normally sealed with a marriage deal. The marriage deal is a political arrangement in order to end the war between two clans, where one male from one clan has to marry the female from the other clan. We think marriage is some, I fell in love and I'm about to get married. That's not what marriage is more responsible than that. Real marriage is more responsible than that. Real
Mm-hmm.
marriage is we're gonna build this empire together. We gonna do what it takes to restore the kingdom on earth, bring heaven back on earth. What we gonna do? We just can't sit here and watch everybody stay miserable. If I'm gonna be with you and you gonna be with me, we gonna figure this shit out together, or we ain't gonna be together until it's figured out.
Yep. Yep. That's true. I ain't gonna hold you, but you know what's funny? My granddad he passed away back in my granddad passed away back in like 83, 84. I was just a teenager, but growing up, you know what he used to always call me. He ain't never he might my name's Frankie, but he would say he might call me Frankie, you know, every now and then. But you know what he always referred to me as?
What?
Chief. Chief. How you doing, Chief? He's always called me that.
Yeah,
Chief.
he was conditioning you then for your role and responsibility to the family.
My granddad used to always call, "How you doing, Chief?" I'm like, man, so when you always, you know, chiefing with the chief, when you do your thing, that I always think about that. But because my
Look,
granddad used to always call me that. I was just a little kid, 9, 10 years old. How you doing, Chief? I'm like, you know, I'll never forget that.
yeah.
But
So they did me a little different. They didn't call me chief. They put me in. They taught me circumstantially. They didn't allude to, like my mama would say, you got a great and mighty work. And my daddy used to say, you got to always be straight up if you a man. Every man got to be straight up. He'd do his hands like that because he mean that shit,
mm-hmm.
right? And so he was telling me that as a man, you got to stand up straight, stand on what you believe on. That's why right now, if the whole world, 8.4 billion people told me I was wrong, no, I ain't. No, I ain't. I know exactly because I already did my investigation. So you can't tell me I'm wrong. You can say you disagree with me. That's fine. I don't mind being disagreed with. Can't tell me I'm wrong though. You got to show me I'm wrong. You got to prove it to me that I'm wrong. But when I get there and explaining to you why I believe it's this way, you're gonna be like, that makes some motherfucking sense. But until the end, you might just think that I'm batshit crazy like most people. Because they scared to ask questions if they feel intimidated by your field. So, I'm like, fuck it, don't ask me nothing. I didn't want to tell you motherfuckers nothing no way. I ain't know I was gonna be out here answering all these damn questions. I decided, but I helped a lot of people along my journey though.
Mm-hmm.
In the streets and in the joint.
So and this is it right here. I know. But are we really 13% of the population? I just don't believe it. Okay, they say globally around the
No, we're
world
not. We've been
we majority.
subdivided amongst ourselves based on our phenotypical differences as being and our geological differences being different people.
Okay.
So when you see those people in the South that use that lead to honor that treaty, and all of them Asians you see in Chinatown and Koreatown and Little Vietnam, they got the name Lee, cousins
I believe it.
on the land.
I
They
believe it.
part of the treaty. Our
I
treaty
believe it.
was really reinforced by railroad workers, but it traces back the first time under the command of Ho Chi Minh, I think was his name, was an emperor, and he came over here, but he didn't come to New Orleans. He came to the south western border of Mexico, and he met with that chief, the Amaru chief, and
Mm-hmm.
they reinforced the contract by
Mm-hmm.
treaty and by marriage right. And this is why a lot of the old dark Asian looking tribes. They dark skin, but they got
Mm-hmm.
Asian features, but they live on the land and they got that hollow hair. That's because of those treaties and those marriage agreements between the clans from over here and the clans from over there. That's why I tell everybody, like, if you don't know the history, you're gonna be taking advantage of a part of the family that we need. Right? Even some of the Mongolians that made treaties with us, we can't throw all of the people that was enrolled under the dolls rolls out because all of them wasn't part of the problem. Some of them was victims just like us.
Yep.
Right? So
Yep.
they got what's called ceremonial tribal rights on the land. They can't own
Mm-hmm.
no land, but they can live here under their own vine and fig tree as long as they stay under their own vine and fig tree and don't cause problems to the neighboring tribes.
Mm-hmm.
This is why the Amish are so prosperous with no actual um, interaction with the government. They stayed under their own vine and fig tree.
Mm-hmm.
It,
Yep.
Noble Drew Ali wrote about staying under your own vine and fig tree,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, Jonah, at the end of Jonah, what did he do? He went and got under his own little old tree because he got to stay to your own self. This is why you have, like, for instance, gay communities, because if you don't fit in with no other tribe, you go to the gay community, them your people.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all do whatever y'all want in y'all community among yourself. Nothing to do with us. I'm
Right.
dog man, gorilla hanging in the forest. That's my clan.
Right.
You know
Right.
what I mean? So
Gorillas
we
in the
don't we
mist.
don't go trying to tell nobody how to run their clan, but we don't like it when people try to tell us to run how to run ours. We under our own vine and fig tree. We growth and develop. We brain banging now. We ain't gang banging no more. Everybody under growth and development need to be doing ambassador studies because we are the ones that's supposed to be the royal court guard, the first ones you see, and we're supposed to have the most common sense and the most courtesy and the ability to communicate with all of the tribes. That's
Yeah.
our job. That's what
Yeah.
we're here for, to maintain the balance across the land among the tribes. You got a tribe that's appointed to go and visit each tribe and to find out if there's any conflicts between two tribes, how to solve it. We ain't supposed to be fighting peace stones. They the police for
Mm-hmm.
us. They not the police for the system. They the tribal
Mm-hmm.
law. We ain't supposed to be fighting with the tribal law. We're supposed to be working with the tribal law. But as long as
Mm-hmm.
we fighting each other, we won't ever remember that shit. So we'd be thinking, I just want my chief out. I don't care about your chief. No, I want them all out. Because we wouldn't be in this situation right now if we knew who our real leaders was, separate from the ones that the system gave us. And Franz Fanon said it best: the system, for all its rewards and all its accolades it may give you, in order to maintain control, will also kill
Mm. Mm.
you. Yeah. I'm gonna go and take another caller up,
Oh,
money.
okay, I appreciate it, Rod. I follow you on IG too, man.
Okay.
Okay. All right, man.
Lorenzo. You better see me independent, me and Lorenzo rolling in the benzo. What it do, my man? What it do?
What is doing? Put my light on because I've been waiting for a minute. So I have a few questions. I'm all the way in Trinidad and Tobago, right?
Okay.
So the first thing I wanted to say, though, I noticed something, right? Because I've been looking at Brother Rich for a long time, and I've been following a lot of elders, like
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Phil Valentine, Professor James Small. And the last time I sat down, I watched you and him having a conversation with Brother Rich.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've been realizing is that Dr. Phil, he from Trinidad and Tobago like me. Professor James Small, he from in America.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm recognizing that every time I listen to them, the way they speak as though we are in a continuous struggle and like there's no hope, you know? So when I hear listen to Sister Myra, she talking a different talk. She like, yo, we at the end of the struggle now. We gonna get us ours now. Then I listen to you talking a different talk. Then there's another few elders who talking that saying we gotta go back to Africa and this and that and the other. So in my mind, I'm like, yo, that last show that Rod Hayes did with Brother Rich was a good show, because what you did right there is you bridge a certain gap. Because what I'm seeing now, people, I'm 40 years old, people who is 45, 40, 35, literally is like fed up completely of how the system is running. A lot of people I know, they like, yo, we just working every day, working. We dying younger, we getting older faster, we getting sicker. This shit gotta stop. Something is wrong. You know, like something gotta happen right now, like soon as possible. When I listen to Brother Phil Valentine, he like, yo, we still got more years of this going. We're gonna have more problems, and the man is still on us. I listen to Brother Professor James Small. He like, he don't want to give up Africa, but he don't want to give up America. And then he talking about how he have a hotel that 80 people came together to buy in Africa, but they gotta sell it now because it didn't work out properly, and all this different type of things. So I'm like, yo, is it a divide now where a lot of the elders who in their 70s and 80s, they're not really seeing the transition that's being made? Because something I noticed with you, when you've been talking about the government gonna have to switch, they're gonna have to bring a National Guard in, they're gonna close down the Federal Reserve. You talking this like 2-3 years now. You adamant about it. You sure? And then you see the receipts come up. You see the National Guard is deployed. You see they close down this bank. You see this, that, and the other happening. So in my mind, I'm like, yo, we've reached a pivotal stage right now where it's actually a divide, because the elders who spoke in the previous time, they was talking about struggling, but now the struggle, we done went through the struggle for so many years that we fed up with the struggle right now. So something got to be done. Now, I don't know if you noticed that, but did you notice that? Because I saw when you spoke to the end of the show, you was like, even though the elders said that America ain't got no resources, America do have resources, and they've been lying to us, because they're preaching what Professor James Moore preaches, that America ain't got no resources, Africa got all the resources, da, 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 da. And then when you go to Africa, I have people who come to Trinidad who from Africa, who leave there and come here. They telling how Africa is deplorable. They ain't got proper roads, their health care, there's problems over there. So they're leaving to come here. So why would we want to leave here to go over there? You know? And I'm seeing the divide right now. So that's one thing I wanted to say. The next thing I wanted to say is that so when you talk about how you come out of the dirt, right? One day I was looking at a CSI program, right? Where they're talking about they had this little child in Africa, they found her in a river, but they only found his torso, half of his body, from his legs go down. And then they was like, okay, so they found him now. They was like, okay, we got to figure out where he come from. Who is he? So they began to like go into his bones. And then when they went into his bones now, they started to see little things in his bones that was able to direct them to a certain part of South Africa. Then it went deeper again. Then it was like, oh, this type of dust or whatever is in his bones, it only exists in this area. So he came from that part of the land, and they was able to figure out that he came from that part of the land because maybe he might have been trafficked, human trafficked, whatever, but they was able to see that he come out of the land literally from in his bones. It's the same thing with you or with me. I'm from Trinidad. There's certain herbs on the land, there's certain trees with certain things that's let off in the air, there's certain things in the soil, there's certain meats that we eat. All of that stuff is in the land from in Trinidad, just like in America. So if you dig up in Rod Hayes' bones, you're going to see Rod Hayes have certain type of whatever it is they was finding that's only existing in that area. Is that true from what your knowledge tell you?
Yeah, so what you have is what's called a trace mineral. The
Right.
trace mineral has a specific number of isotopes. This allows them to trace the mineral to where these isotopes group around this trace mineral in this volume or this many isotopes. And from that, they can, it's to tie you to the land. A while ago, I was doing, say, if you want to find out if you're from the land, tell them to do a DNA test and compare you to the land, because that's going to be more accurate than that test they doing at 23andMe.
Yeah. Because they
They know,
triangulate the human.
they know how to find out if somebody from the land by testing the soil trace mineral that's in the bones and the DNA and the bone marrow.
Yeah,
Which
they
is he
found out
from?
this boy was from South Africa. They know exactly which
Yeah.
area to, which country, everything. They went right back to like the town or the section of the land where it had the most whatever minerals that he was from. So they know he was from that part of the land without
Hmm.
even guessing.
They can
And I'm like, they
also,
could do that for everybody.
yeah, they can also trace you by nutrition. They could tell you
Yeah,
by your diet what part of the country you live in.
yeah. So they could tell you from South Carolina and you from New York. Stuff
Yeah,
like that. They could even triangulate it like that.
yeah. So I put it like this: if you from Philly, they gonna find some Philly state traces in your bloodstream.
Yeah, yeah.
If you from New
That's
York,
correct.
that bodega you ate all the time, they gonna say, "Oh, he from New York. He eat that bodega all the time," because it's gonna leave trace residue in your bloodstream.
Right. So that's why I don't respect people who from so people from Trinidad and they leave Trinidad and they go America and they say they're Trinidad to the bone. They love Trinidad, but they never come back home. I don't really respect that. So what Trump is doing with the deportation situation, I think that's what needs to happen for the land. So like people from Haiti got to go back to Haiti to help deal with that because y'all from there, y'all got to go deal with that. And it's not people from
It's,
Trinidad who
it's,
live in
but
America that come
it's,
back to Trinidad.
it's the natural progression of things. It's called entropy. When the people
Right.
start leaving the homeland, that means the homeland is being overran by foreigners. But when the
Yeah.
foreigners
Yeah.
start being exiled from the homeland, they have an irresistible impulse to return home. Watch Haiti.
You got to get home. Yeah.
Yeah, all you gotta do is watch Haiti because they want Haitians to rebuild Haiti, and because they don't trust nobody because everybody they trusted in the past crossed them out.
Right.
So all you
That's the
gotta
truth.
do, so all you gotta do is watch Haiti.
Yeah.
They pick like 2 or 3 countries in Africa that they willing to work with, but that's the Haitian people picking those people. Other than
Right.
that, they don't want nobody down there in Haiti interfering in them rebuilding. They already started. Me and Rising Phoenix, we've tracked the rebuilding of a major canal from scratch that the people of Haiti built without the government permission or finance. They financed it themselves and they built it themselves. They
Right.
supplied the workers from among themselves. And it's the same way with all of this. The reason they did it is so that they can do renovations and rebuild the whole island. Because you got to remember,
Yeah. Yeah.
the Dominican Republic, Haiti, was divided by colonizers. It wasn't divided by the people.
No, it's always the colonizers. Yeah.
So when
So
they start to restore everything, they not only concerned with restoring Haiti, they also concerned with restoring the DR.
yeah. Now they got some people from Cuba, right? I wanna hear your opinion about this. So there's this guy, one of my friends. He from Cuba, right? He work in a store around, so we talk sometimes, and he's like, "Yo," they asking him, "Why you leave Cuba? Why you come around here to be in Trinidad?" He's like, "Man, in Cuba, everything is about the police. If you open up a store, whatever you're doing, everything is about the police, and it's always about what the Fidel Castro administration says that they got to do. So if they can't have no current, they can't have no electricity for like what he said from in the nighttime they have no electricity, in the day they have it for like an hour or two or something like that. So I'm thinking about. I always hear Dick Gregory say, man, he don't like Fidel Castro, right? He said, how you gonna survive all them presidents and then they got Gitmo on Cuba? And in my mind, I'm listening to the Cuban guy say how he don't want to live in Cuba, even though he's from there, is because everything is the police. You can't get a chance to grow. You can't do nothing over there besides what they say you should
Okay,
do.
so let's
And I'm
understand what Cuba was going through that made people want to leave. When Raul, um, Fidel, Che Guevara, Camilo Cienfuegos, and a few others decided to oust the mob, to oust the United
yeah,
States government from controlling the resources of the people of Cuba. What was going on when this happened was the mobsters had set up casinos in Cuba as referenced in The Godfather with the Havana deal.
yeah,
While they was running these
yeah,
casinos, they was taking the local underage girls and giving them absorbance amount of money to molest them. Right
Right.
now, when Castro and them came, they one of their complaints or platform arguments was, we no longer want our daughters to work in your brothels when they should be at
Right.
home raising their children. Right, so they ousted the United States influence, they ousted the mob, and when they took control of Cuba, and they were immediately placed under international embargo from trade, and they wasn't a lot, like if you go to Cuba now, you see more modern cars now than you did 20 years ago because they weren't
Right.
allowed to import anything but presidential vehicles. So the people
That's
of
what I find
Cuba,
crazy. Yeah.
right now, the people of Cuba are resourceful enough and productive enough. They've been keeping them old 50 cars from the 50s functional for
Yeah.
50
Yeah.
years when we can't keep them
Yeah.
functional for 4. Now we got to buy a new
Yeah.
car,
Yeah.
right? Now, resources is limited now because you can't trade.
Yeah. That's what he say too. You can't send nothing back there. Even right now, because they just had the same hurricane that Jamaica had. Cuba had a bad hurricane the same way too, and then he was like, people dying right now from dengue and this, and you can't send stuff over there. I'm like, yo, let's send some stuff over there. He's like, nah, you can't do it, papi. They're gonna stop it, and it's cost more money to send than it actually costs for it to pay. So if you're sending something that's worth $5, it's gonna cost you 50 to send it.
Mm-hmm. Right. That's
So they
because of the
can't get rid.
embargo. That's because of the embargo America have on Cuba. Now remember, America patrols the waterways of all of Central America. America is the primary vessels of control because they can't allow foreign nations to operate in the Gulf all the way back to the Atlantic because it's a military vulnerability.
Yeah,
Now, so they patrolling around the island of Cuba. They're not allowing them to trade, so it limits the resource. They're not allowed to develop nuclear power plants for massive production of electricity like everybody else because of the embargo. So now the power plants can only be productive for so long before you become a burden on the strain on the infrastructure. So part of the presidential responsibility is to govern over the use of resources so that everybody can have access, or as many people as possible, to the
yeah,
resource
that's true.
like
Yeah,
electricity. So yeah, it's going to look tyrannical to the people under the regime. But for the political scientist, one who studies the background of how you got to that condition, it wasn't like that for the first 5 years after they took control. It wasn't until they started depleting resources that they can only acquire through foreign trade that it started being more and more restrictive in how you live in Cuba. Now, a lot of the people um, was up in arms because Castro emptied out his prisons and his mental institutions and sent them all to
yeah,
America as political
yeah,
refugees,
yeah.
right? And he did that because he didn't have the resources to maintain them in a mental institution or in a prison, and he didn't want to just let them go on the street. So he sent them to the people that caused the problem, so that the problem that they caused can be a problem on the problem maker. So he sent them to
Right.
America. Right. So, yeah, you're going to feel oppressed under those conditions because you don't have access to what and don't mess around and lived in America a few years and then move to Cuba. You're going to be miserable
It's
because
hell
you
on
ain't got,
earth. They tell me. He told me it's hell on earth over there right now.
yeah,
He said
it's
he ain't
still
going
like
back.
that,
I'm like,
but it's
damn, you
going
ain't
to
going
get
back.
better. Yeah, but it got to get better though because they
Right.
eventually going to have to allow Cuba open trade in
Yeah.
order for, because there's not going to be any third world countries anymore. All
Right.
third
So
world
now,
countries is moving toward development now. They all got the resources.
right. So
All the
this leads me to
miners,
this next.
Yeah, all the islands, if you go look at the resources they produce, they got enough resources to take care of their own people, but they don't have enough resources to take care of the whole of Europe and their people.
Yeah. Now this is a situation right now because I'm in Trinidad and Tobago, and right next door to us is Venezuela, right? Now
Mm-hmm.
Venezuela is a situation now with the American government in Trinidad, and people don't like it. Some people like it. Then they have a lot of slick talking between Nicolas Maduro and our prime minister. They talking really slick and nasty, like in public, like kill them violently. We don't like them. They made our prime minister persona non grata because she allowed the U.S. to put a spinning, what they call a radar on our property, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Nicolas Maduro now, I'm doing my research from asking people because a lot of people from Venezuela live in Trinidad. They come over here. Now, the people who come over here, once again, they don't like Maduro. They like, yo, he need to go. The reason why they're in Trinidad because over there's problems, and they literally come down for toilet paper. Real raw, they come down for toilet paper, right? So they coming down here, they're trying to work. They do just like they do in America, 10 of them in one little apartment, and they working and they working and they working to get their money sent back home. So now there's this war brewing now. Now, we in the middle of it, and I'm sitting back looking at it like, wow, look what's going on here. Look how they talking. But it's the same thing where the people who on the ground feel like Maduro because he's not living like the people on the ground. Same thing with Chavez. So they have a thing called Chavismo, right? So in the 1970s, Trinidadians used to go across to Venezuela, and because Venezuela had high rises, they had a train, it was a nice, beautiful place, everything was going good over there. That's what they tell me. So in the 70s, Trinidad used to go over there more, go to Caracas, go to all the different beaches and whatever, and do trade. And then in the 80s, later on in the 80s now, they had another prime minister, president, and they said that he came and fucked it over. And then Chavez came now after him now, and then he had a military coup, and he overthrown the government, and he came into power. But they're saying that Chavismo now, they liked him, but all he did was he went into all the rural areas that didn't have any housing, and he gave them bricks and houses, basically, to build up houses, but no educational structures to go with that. So they have people who saying how they kind of in between two sides with him, but they understand what he did. And then they have Maduro now, who was a bus driver in 1990, and now he's the head of Venezuela, right? But the way how the people, I'm looking at the people more than I'm looking at the prime minister or the president, because the president will always live very nice and the people will always live poor. This is why I agree with you when you say how if we be dealing with a chief system here where he got to be in the mud with us, he got to live in our community with us, our leader got to live with us. He got to
Mm-hmm.
be in the mud, or if it's a problem, like what you said before, remember that time you said how if it's a really bad problem, but then my chief got to fight your chief, and then we're going to settle it like that. That's
Yeah.
how I'm seeing it at. So I'm seeing like, so Maduro is up there, and then Trump surrounded the whole area of Venezuela, his whole
Okay.
coastline is surrounded.
Let me tell you what's going on with Venezuela. First, I'm going to
Yeah,
address
let me hear that part. Let me hear
First,
that.
I'm going to address Hugo Chavez. Right. The reason he didn't set up a school system because he wanted the people to educate their own children. Because if he was to set up a Western school system, he would be contributing to the colonizers' role of miseducation of the children. That's the first thing. Second thing is he only died because of the CIA. Now,
Yeah, I heard that too. Yeah,
what's going on right now in
yeah,
Venezuela is there is a lot of high-ranking U.S. officials that is the ones who was owners by proxy of the drug trade coming out of Venezuela.
yeah,
The only way to catch them is they have to force the president to surrender the paperwork from because they know he investigated these particular people's involvement in the drug trade and they want the records. So the military blockade right now is to make the people in America that's in charge of the drug trade that's been reaping millions on top of millions of dollars from the drug trade panic because now they can't move the narcotics nor they got massive pallets of money they can't move. And
right.
the war they got to pay their private militaries And if they can't pay their private militaries, the private military pack up, they become easy to arrest, right?
You're right. You're
So
right.
the drug connection to Venezuela is controlled by the CIA and the DEA. And so Trump and the US military say, we can make them expose themselves. All we gotta do is cut off their money. How do you cut off their money? Stop all drug movement, stop all movement of pallets of cash. Now you can't get caught leaving Venezuela with $200 billion in the back of your plane.
No, they
Can't do it.
blowing up shit down here.
You're
They
gonna get
blowing
shot
up
the
stuff.
fuck. Yep, you're gonna get
They
shot the
blew up
fuck down.
somebody I know from Trinidad. They blew up somebody from Trinidad who was going over there with stuff, and he was coming back, and they blew him up just like a couple months ago. I
Yep.
know dude from a little kid too. They blew his ass up.
Yep. So what they trying to do is right now they trying to flood this. They was trying to flood the streets with fentanyl. The reason they
Right.
classified it as a WMD is so when they finally catch the controllers, once they catch them and arrest them, they need that paperwork from the press. He gave it to them too. I don't know if y'all remember that, but it was in the news that he
To
gave up a whole
Maduro?
lot of. Yeah.
Okay,
So
I ain't hear that part.
now they forcing their hand because they can't get none of their money, and they pay their private military in cash, so it's not traceable. Now they can't get the money from the drug sales to pay their private militaries. So National Guard, instead of going in there risking getting shot the fuck up, they just sitting by waiting to do the arrest until after that private military funding has shriveled up. Then they go in there, walk right up in there with two agents and arrest them versus a whole um, uh, platoon of fucking 50 dudes
Even
going in there.
Marines.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So instead of
yeah,
having to do that, all you got to do is cut off their cash supply, right? Because they was
yeah.
moving millions and millions of dollars
They
on
just
a
seized an
regular
oil tanker
basis.
like 2 days ago.
Yeah. So now they can't get that money to pay them private militaries, and the ones that's running the private military has already been talked to by high-ranking military officials in negotiating the surrender or to drop the contract with the client by forfeiture of payment if they cut off the resource. So everything they're doing is strategic.
Right,
It's
to
all
not get into
strategic.
a war. Because everybody
Right.
in Trinidad right now is really scared of this. They're going to have a war.
There ain't gonna be
Some
no
people in
war.
Venezuela are scared. Ain't going to be no
It
war.
ain't gonna be no war. When we start having Mardi Gras across the land up here, they're gonna be having Mardi Gras across the land down there.
But you think they're going to take Maduro out or they're going to leave him?
They need him right now. He a puppet.
So
They
you got to
got him
keep him
on.
there
They
for a
just
while.
got him. Yeah. So the only way they would harm him is when they ask him for something and he refused.
So right now they're just keeping him there on a string. He just got to hold. He got to do what
Yeah.
they say until whenever.
Yeah.
All right.
Because
So I
see,
got I got one more.
he had an opportunity to arrest several of those American officials because he had people watch them when they came down there before. Now they got to go down there, boots on the ground. They can't get in, they can't get out.
Right. So he's a part of the situation too, because he's facilitating them. He making sure that they could do what they're doing in his land.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why he got to get out of there. And well, they got to use him until his time is up.
Yeah.
Because he keep winning elections. He keep winning the elections by 1% and shit like that. Like 51%. He won the last election by. He don't have no international observers. He do his own thing down there. Is gangsterism. He got a big army, but like you said, they had an interview of some of the soldiers, and they
And
asked
look,
them like, "Do
I'm,
y'all could
I'm
get
gonna
into
tell
a
you,
fight with?"
you know, El Chapo escaped the ADX, right?
He got out of there.
Yeah,
Shit.
about a week ago. Anyway,
Wow.
brought that up to tell you
Yeah.
this. El Chapo had a conversation with several of the chiefs while he was in there.
Right.
And now he finna start organizing and making treaties and with the other heads, and he finna start organizing all of Central America, not just Mexico. And this is about to be a big deal because he finna get out of the drug trade. He
Right. And
finna
then the
start.
people gonna
He
start to see
finna
their way.
Yeah, he finna explain everything to the bosses that he was told by the other chiefs. And when you get down there and they had that meeting and he run down what's going on the land and where we at, he gonna be like the Latin American representative for the Spanish speaking community about what's going on the land and the tribes being restored and how we got to start working together and stop with the shenanigans.
That's right.
But it's
That's
not gonna
right.
be instant though.
It's gonna take some time to work its way in.
Mm-hmm.
So I got this other this other thing for you now. So I have a friend, right? Well, it's one of my old childhood friends, right? So he left Trinidad and he went to America. There's something different. This about this. I know you interpret dreams and stuff like that, right? So I'm gonna ask you. So yeah, he left about in 2020, just before COVID started,
Mm-hmm.
20 or 2019, somewhere around there. And then he went, and then now in 2021, 2022 is the last time we spoke to him. His son, I knew him before his son was born. His son looked just like him. His wife is there. Nobody, his mother and father, nobody heard nothing from him. Nobody knows if he exists or if he died, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like about last year, I had this dream with him. So the dream now, I had 3 dreams, right? So I'm gonna tell you the first dream. So the first dream now, I dream him, I see him in the dream. I'm like, yo, what's up? And then the minute I said that, we just start crying in the dream. Then I wake up like, yo, what's that? It's me and this man crying in this dream. Yo, I wonder if this man dead, this man unalive. So then after that, now I told some people about it. It was like, nah, he around, still he around, he alive. You don't want to say he's dead or whatever. So I'm like, yo, I don't know, man. I don't know, man. That's my man from so many years. I don't know. Then boom, I had a next dream now. The next dream now, we sitting under this tree. There's a tree in my area where everybody go and chill. We smoke and we chill underneath this tree every evening. Who come from work, whatever, we chill underneath there. So I dreaming that we was there one day. And then we talking and we chilling and it's time for us to go home. So like when it get dark, people start going home. So then when we going home now, I'm like, yo, Nicholas, you going home, Nick? In the dream. And he just started looking at me. And then after that, he like shaking his head like, nah. And I'm like, what's that, yo? You ain't going home? Why you ain't going home? And I wake up. Then the last dream I just had now, the last dream I had like about 2-3 weeks ago, I'm dreaming him again now. And then the dream now is like, I'm telling him in the dream, should I tell you your wife? Because every time she see me, she asks me, and I'll be honest, I ain't even been checking up on them as much because I can't say, because every time they see me, like, yo, did you hear anything? Did you know what's going on? What's going on? His son looked just like him, like exactly like him. So I'm like, yo, so I ain't been checking up on him. So in the dream now, he's like, yo, I don't know if he said what, tell him that I'm not around or go and check up on him and why you ain't checking on him. So I'm like, does that mean I should go and tell them something or should I just stay quiet?
Okay, so
Because we ain't here.
he's still missing.
Missing, completely missing. He went to Philadelphia and we can't hear nothing about him. We sent people up there. They look for him. Nobody can find him. His mother, he not in the jail. He not nowhere. We don't know where this man is at. That's the last conversation I had with him was him talking about his son and how his son, because he never missed a day talking to his son, nothing like that. And I'm saying he was always like, he went up there to get money for his son and his wife. That's why he left in the first place. So I'm like, how you ain't talking to them or what's going on? This is years now. This is like about 3 to 4 years now.
Yeah, it do sound fishy, but it sound. I'm not. I'm not picking nothing up on him east. I'm sensing his energy west, like Northern California area. I don't know if you
So
know
you think,
anybody over there, but
right.
he okay in his dreams. He's trying to communicate with you. Crying in a dream, when y'all crying in a dream, that's a breakthrough. A spiritual breakthrough look like a breakdown.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I didn't understand that part. I'm like, dude, if we just crying and we didn't even say nothing the first time. We just cried. I'm like, damn,
Mhm.
what the hell is this, son? Me and this man crying in this dream, man. We can't get on to him. The hell is that?
Okay, look at it like this. He said he went to Philly. I'm picking his energy up west, like Northern California. Don't mean he's west. It means misdirection.
Right.
That's what it means. It means misdirection because it feel like it's a misdirection, which means that either he don't want to be found.
That's another thing they were saying too. Like he probably could pick up another family and left. But I'm like, he gonna leave his son that look just like him?
Yeah. So,
But it's
well, the only way
possible.
that'll happen if he had to be really, really, really anxious to get rid of that chick in order to leave his
Hmm.
son. But he said, for all we know, he could be locked up somewhere. With this
That's what I'm
government we
thinking
got,
too.
yeah.
That's what I'm
So
thinking about
I,
too. If he locked up or whatever. But what the
I
hell is
think we
going
should.
on with this?
I think y'all should check places like prisons for him and county
Yeah,
jails.
yeah, yeah. I'm gonna
Just
tell him that too. That's the next thing I'm gonna try and do to see if he alive or if he not, whatever, whatever, whatever. You know. All right. Well, all right, Chief. I appreciate love the conversation, and you know it was good. I know people want to get up inside of here now,
I got
so we're
one more
gonna keep it.
person waiting, so I'm gonna take them and then I'm gonna go and wrap it up.
Yeah, man. Keep doing the good work, though. I like what you did with that Radio Rich last show with Professor James Moe, and you redirected the conversation. And you let people know
Oh,
they
yeah.
got resources in
Well,
America.
oh, that's
The
another
show
thing
about
we
to
talked
end.
about earlier. I didn't get to tell you this part. When
Yeah,
our elders was teaching how they was teaching with the information they had available to them.
yeah,
We have now with the ability to reach the internet, we have the ability to show more receipts and
yeah,
to get more information across the world than they did. And for them, they can only go so far because they had only so much information available. We can go so much further. So the way that we have to look at it, the elders didn't have to be right. They just had to try to do something.
truly, I agree with that.
Now, my generation, we becoming the elders now. We
Yeah, and it's
inherit,
time.
so we inherit everything they did. We don't have to agree with everything they said, but we do have to acknowledge the work that they put in order for us to be able to benefit from the way that they moved showed us something about the system we was dealing with, no matter what doctrine they was pushing or what group they was a part of. Once we give them their due respect, we have access spiritually to all of their good works. We don't want their
Yeah,
bullshit works. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah,
we don't we don't have to we don't have to fulfill a contract we didn't make, but we can take some information from an old contract to write a new one, if it makes
that's
sense.
true. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Oh, one more question I have to ask you though. One more question I have to ask you. I saw you put up a post about this pill that they're gonna have that's gonna extend your lifespan based upon the telomeres, right?
Yeah.
Now, I personally feel as though we're gonna have to, like, humanity will be able to make a breakthrough that we could heal back bones and reverse aging and gray hair and shit. I kind of feel that within myself because I'm seeing what's going on. I'm thinking that regrowing teeth and regrowing hair and fixing your eyes if you got cataracts and your spinal cord and all them kind of diseases or illnesses that we could not fix before. I figure we're gonna be able to do that like soon. Do you think
Okay,
that
so
way?
the Anunnaki is the ones who shortened the telomeres.
Who fuck with us? Yeah.
Okay, now we already knew what they did. They had a group of billionaires called the Lazarus Group that was searching for the fountain of youth and
Yeah.
how to live forever, right? And one of the things they discovered in the Sumerian tablets was that they tampered with the DNA. So they had scientists that they paid to find out based on those tablets what did they do. Well, they know they gave us something called a worship gene, and on the
Yeah.
genome, it looked like a scar tissue where they connected the worship gene into the genome. All of the geneticists know about the scar tissue on the helix, right? Now, they also found out that one of the causes of aging was the slowly decreasing in the length of the telomeres. So
Mm-hmm.
telomeres is the sheath that cover the end of the chromosome, and we can access more of our spiritual energy potential by our sheaths or the telomeres being longer, which would
Yeah.
allow us access to what they call the quantum field to repair damage to the organism so we don't have to always rely on the foods we eat to repair the organism. Because part of the
Yeah.
reason we have to eat is to repair, and the other part is to sustain. So food is not there to be gluttonous about. It's really there to sustain your life and to help your body repair itself. So the
No, I have a
sustenance,
saying, right?
yeah.
I have a
So
saying
that's
where I
why.
say like I wish we don't I like sometimes I say I wish we didn't have to eat because the food we eating is garbage, right? A lot of the times in this world right now. And we getting sick because of the actual food. Like I had a conversation with somebody who's a vegan, and you know how vegans are. I explained them like
Mm-hmm.
there's a word called oxalate. Oxalate is in every plant, every herb, every vegetable, because nothing wants to be eaten, right? So it has a defense a mechanism with it. And when you eat the whatever vegetable you eat, it makes the minerals in your body bind together from the oxalate, so it doesn't your body don't be absorbing a lot of minerals when you eat. And you might better off eating a piece of meat to get more minerals than a piece of cabbage or kale or whatever. You eat the kale, it's gonna bind you. But it's a problem with, to try to explain to them because they figure like, yo, you're gonna eat
That's why. That's why our
vegetables and we're gonna live
grandmamas
longer.
used. Look, that's why our grandmamas used to cook our vegetables so long. They slow
To
cook
burn them
them
out.
on low heat. They slow cook them on low heat for a prolonged period of time to allow the nutrition to break down. Remember, baby food used to be pot liquor and cornbread, pot liquor and grits, pot liquor and rice. That was baby food. Babies used to be so doggone chunky back then. Even the poor
Hmm.
ones was chunky as a baby because they was nutrient dense from the pot
Hmm.
liquor that was used to make their food. That's why they came out with baby food to stop the grandmamas from teaching the daughters how to make pot liquor baby food. And they even would take forks and smash vegetables up and saturate it with the pot liquor in order to make the baby a food bottle. That's where they got the whole idea of making baby food from watching the big mamas feed the babies. And they just
Yeah,
industrialized what she was doing.
that's right. So you foresee in the future we'll be able to heal bones and all that stuff like within the near future, like within the next couple of years, it might be able to fix back your bone and shit, make you
It's
reverse age.
already right. So we already have technologies and currently in real time being released, like the med bed. The med
Yeah, the
bed,
med bed.
you know how people be going to the hospital, got to stay in there a week. You go sleep in the
Yeah,
med bed, and you be going back home in about 12 hours. So
yeah.
we not gonna have hospitals no more. We gonna
We
have
don't
doula
they
centers.
garbage.
We're
Hmm.
gonna have doula centers. Doula centers is birth centers where pregnant women can go and listen to Mozart while they knit all day to focus their energy into developing the child in the womb to his maximum potential. Right. So
Hmm.
it's gonna be overseen by a team of doulas. And I already know where I want the first location to be in Detroit. I already looked at the premises. I just haven't found the investor to go get the property yet. But
Right.
yeah, but it's like a village, fenced in village in the center of Detroit. Meaning in the center of Detroit, it's off to the side because I think it's actually in one of the suburbs like Redford or something.
Right.
But yeah, but
But we're gonna be able to heal ourselves and get back because
yeah,
everybody keeps saying that's to live to 65 years old and retire is bullshit. Because right now, as it is right now, a lot of people who's 40, 45, they're like, yo, next 10, 15 years, I'm gonna retire. I ain't even lived my life yet. And then when you get old, like my pops, he just retired like 2, 3 years ago. And you can see how it messes you up when you retire, because when you retire now, you've been living this over 45 years and you retire now, it's like your whole life just dropped because you got programmed to live a certain way, and then you gotta live like this. So it's like retiring is like preparing you to die, basically. They're like, look, you go ahead and you're gonna die now. That's how the
Yeah,
retiree thing is. I'm seeing.
yeah. You know, a lot of people don't live no longer than about 2 or 3 years when they retire.
Yeah, it
It's,
mess you
it's a
up.
couple
Yeah,
things. It's a couple things that help you when you retire to live longer. One of them is a strong marital relationship, because you
yeah,
still
yeah,
you now you get the opportunity to enjoy your spouse without your grown ass kids being all up under you, where you can get
yeah.
some one-on-one time that y'all probably haven't had since y'all started having
Yes,
babies 35, 40 years ago,
yeah,
right? So now the retirement years, one of the things is a good spouse. The other one is strong family ties. Like when they retire, they got so much family business to tend to that they still
yeah.
got work to do.
That's what's saving my
Yeah.
father right now, because he gotta do things for my nephew, he gotta do things for me, he got my mom, like to try, because he got nothing else to do, and he's not gonna stay home. You know, he gotta go out there, he gotta do things. He's not staying home at all. He's not gonna stay home.
Yeah.
You know, so we need to
All right, now
extend our lives a little bit better.
I'm gonna take another
Yeah, we're
caller
gonna
in
talk.
now.
All right, peace out, man. Give thanks.
All right, peace, brother.
Yeah, man.